Vladimir Putin mixed with Jung Un. Bill Gates bets big on Bud Light. And the Netflix show One Piece becomes an instant hit. This is the Vice Signal Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the Vice Signal Merch Store, your premier source for thoughtfully curated merchandise that celebrates traditional values and is committed to the indispensable idea of government restraint. Explore our unique collection starting with the Supreme Style tinfoil hat, a statement piece that embodies our commitment to critical thinking and pushing back against the norm. Make a statement with the Free Trump shirt, boldly displaying the captivating mugshot of the former president, which instantly became the most famous picture in the world. At the Vice Signal Merch Store, we're more than just products. We're a community dedicated to celebrating and defending traditional values. Sign up for promotions and receive 10% off your very first order. Don't miss out on these exceptional items. Embrace tradition, champion freedom, and shop now at tvsmerch.com. Okay, so earlier today, Jung Un met with Vladimir Putin in the Russian city of Vladivostok. This is the first time Kim has left North Korea in years, about 4 years, and the second time that he's ever meeting with Vladimir Putin. So there's a lot of fuss about this, a lot of things going on. The U.S. is issuing warnings saying, North Korea, you better not give Russia weapons. So people are trying to speculate, what are these two men talking about? What's going on? Are they doing a quid pro quo? Is there going to be some type of deal? So the speculation is that North Korea, which has one of the largest weapon stockpiles in the world, one of the largest stockpiles of missiles, they're going to be transferring a lot of those weapons to Russia so Russia can use them against Ukraine. And that's a possibility. Russia has its own production capability. It's producing millions of bullets, mines, rockets, everything it needs within its own borders. But there could be some type of benefit of it taking weapons from Korea, and that's building a relationship. Because one might ask, why would Britain buy supplies from the United States? Why would Britain and France, other countries, and NATO, why would they want to buy the F-35, for example? Don't they have the capability of building their own fifth generation aircraft? Yeah, it would be a lot of investment, but they can do it. So one of the reasons why they do it is for a relationship. It kind of solidifies these ties, these partnerships that these countries has. So we're exchanging goods. And also Russia has the most energy reserves in the world. So North Korea needs energy. They need food too. So Russia could be sending a lot of food down there, a lot of grain, a lot of flour, along with oil and natural gas. And one big thing that people aren't talking about in Western media, at least, is that Russia has helped North Korea finally create an icbm, intercontinental ballistic missile, that can hit anywhere in the United States. They've been making these threats, talking about the United States is going to become a nuclear wasteland, and all this has been going on for years. We can go all the way back to the 90s with this. Bill Clinton was trying to stop North Korea from getting nuclear capabilities. George Bush also tried to stop them from developing a nuclear weapon. And then after that, he was trying to stop them from developing the capability of delivering a nuclear strike to the United States homeland. Obama worked on the same thing. He tried to prevent them from developing an icbm that can strike. Trump went and met with Kim Jong-un more than once in person, the only president to do something like that, in order to convince him to not develop nuclear capabilities to hit the United States. And just like that, the Russians have given the North Koreans the capability of striking not only Washington, D.C. and New York, but any NATO capital in the world. Because we have 32, after Sweden gets in, we're going to have 32 nations in NATO. You have Russia and you have Belarus. These guys have become outcasts in Europe. And you have all these other countries delivering supplies, weapons, everything that Ukraine needs. They're delivering all of that money. And the Russians are telling the Americans, okay, well, if you want to do this, we can move laterally against you. Not only can we ramp up the combat intensity against the Ukrainians, but guess what we can do? We can go to North Korea, one of your greatest enemies, and we can give them the capability of hitting you with a nuke. They can also do it with the cartels in Mexico. They can move against the United States and Cuba. So the people in Washington didn't think this through. They didn't think that the Russians would make a move like this, because there's this unwritten rule in the international community that nuclear powers won't help non-nuclear powers develop capabilities of striking other nations. But looks like it's happened. And And one of the reasons why it's very, very likely that it's happened is not only do we have reports coming from Russia, coming from South Korea about this very thing happening, but when North Korea launched their nuke back in, I think that was July, the warhead looks just like a Russian warhead. North Korea's missiles before these tests looked very different. It was a liquid fuel rocket. Now they have a solid fuel rocket, and when you examine them side by the Russian topo, this missile looks just like the Russians' missile. It looks like the Russian scientists went down there to Korea with a missile without the United States knowing it and said, okay, I want you to break this down and just copy everything that we have. So now, looks like North Korea has that capability. So things are ramping up. We're on a road to World War III, and the exits are becoming fewer and fewer. And things are not only heating up over there in East Asia. You go over there to the Black Sea area, there's reports coming out that the United States, England, and some other NATO nations are sending ships. Most of those ships have arrived already, but they're about to conduct war games over there in the Black Sea area. So the United States hasn't officially announced the naval war games, but what they have announced is they're going to be conducting a massive war game, the biggest war game since the Cold War, in Poland and Estonia, Latvia, with over 40,000 troops. NATO's rapid response force is currently about 40,000, and they want to increase it up to 300,000. 300,000 men who are ready to go to war against Russia immediately. Right now, they're far from it. They're a far cry from it. Right, it's all talk. But the United States, they just sent the 3rd Infantry Division over there. They're sending thousands of other troops and pieces of equipment over there. And they have a plan. Next spring, they're going to start a fake invade Russia operation. Basically, they're going to mimic and practice everything that they need to do to invade and destroy Russia. And Russia's watching all of this. The fact that these countries are sending ships over there to the Black Sea area is a massive provocation against the Russians. We saw what happened when that drone was over there, the whole shovel meme, when they went over there and destroyed the U.S. drone, because Russia is claiming most of that area in the Black Sea, and the United States doesn't like that. They're trying to say this is international and we have freedom of navigation here. So what's going to happen if the United States sends cruisers and destroyers right outside of Russian territory? You think the Russians are going to just sit still and take it? I don't know. But the lunatics in Washington, they think they can do whatever they want, because for decades, Putin has done all this talk, but he was very slow to take action. So it led people in London and people in Washington to become really comfortable and feel like they can just do anything, like they can run over the Russians and the Russians wouldn't do anything. So we're going to see what happens here. We're going to see if these guys are actually foolish enough to send warships that close to Russian shores and think that Vladimir Putin is not going to react. The thing about these world wars is they took years to start. We look back, we read books and look at documentaries about it, and it seems like everything happened so fast. One guy got shot, next thing you know, the whole world's there. Well, no, things build up. This happens, 6 months later, that happens. Another year later, this happens, and next thing you know, after a couple of years of gradual buildup, we're in an all-out war. And this could be the very thing right now. We could be in the buildup of World War III if these guys aren't careful. So make peace, you fools. Otherwise, the whole world can be destroyed. But enough about talks of end of the world. Let's make a hard transition. Bring things back home. Let's look at what's going on with Bud Light. The gift that keeps on giving. Like an eternal Christmas present that you can continuously open. So Bud Light is still reeling. It's still feeling the heat. It's been devastated by its own decision to go to war against its own customer base. Bud Light decided to go woke because they were more interested in social justice. They were more interested in ESG and pleasing a bunch of activist freaks than actually making money, than actually upholding the fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. So this company has learned the hard way that you can't play both sides in certain aspects. You can't maintain the same sales to your core consumers while also trashing their values. So right now they're down 30%. This is 6 months after the whole incident with Mulvaney. So year over year, 30%. This thing has maintained itself. Their sales cratered. They fell all the way down to 30% below what they were selling before. And it's leveled off. It's maintained that. So it looks like they've lost 30% of their customers. That is enormous for any company. If you lose 30% of sales on a permanent basis, that's devastating. Which is why I keep saying, I don't know how the CEO, I don't know how all these VPs, these managers, I don't know how they're still there after this. They came out, they gave this fake non-apology. They put that BS statement. Anheuser-Busch put this BS statement on his website. The CEO, he can't commit because he knows it's wrong. He wants to say the right thing, but he's afraid because a bunch of activist freaks have taken over his company. So instead of doing what he needed to do, he decided to pander. They've been pandering through football, the military. They went to some motorcycle events. They've been playing all these commercials trying to say, look, we're just normal Americans, even though it's a Belgian company. It's not even an American company. They've been saying we're normal Americans. We're just like you. Yes, we did trash your values, but just forget all that. Just come on back to us and have a cold one. They've been doing giveaways. They gave away free beer back in July. Literally free beer. And after that, approaching the NFL season, they started giving away these NFL packages on YouTube TV worth $350. They gave away thousands of those packages. So this is all an effort to try to buy back customers. They even lost their number one spot. They used to be the number one beer for over 20 years, but now it's Modelo. The biggest problem that Bud Light had was that they didn't understand their position in the market. You're not Nike. You're not Ulta. You can't just get in bed with these leftist activist freaks and think your customers are cool with it. Ulta did it and they kept selling makeup. Nike did it. They kept selling shoes and sweatshirts and all that crap. But you can't do that. You have a different product that you sell to consumers. You have a different type of brand. You have a different type of consumer base. And these people don't play that. People use your products for different reasons than they use these others. So it's not all the same. Even that old thing with Nick Merckx when he said, leave children alone, and Call of Duty came after him. And people were saying, well, we're going to give Call of Duty the Bud Light treatment. It didn't work because these teenagers, these kids, they are addicted to Call of Duty. So even though Call of Duty jumped in bed with these activist freaks also, they didn't feel a blow. Because it's about who you are as a company. How do you serve the public? How do you serve the market? What's your position? These other companies, they can get away with it, but certain companies can't, and Bud Light is one of them. So they learned a very, very hard lesson. So let's read just a little bit about what's going on with their sales right now. Bud Light sales are still floundering months after its disastrous partnership with transgender TikTok star Dylan Mulvaney, and drinkers of America's former top-selling beer are just lost forever. A massive share of your customer base gone to your competitors. You see Bud Light still just stubbornly down around 30% in volume compared to last year, which is where it's been since May or June. That tells me that this is quasi-permanent, meaning those customers are just lost forever. Shoemaker's remark come less than a month after it was revealed that Anheuser-Busch InBev-owned company had won back 15% of its boycotting drinkers. See, that right there was an absolute lie. This is something that Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch started pushing in order to try to convince more people to come back, because they did these surveys, these polls, and based on polls they were saying, okay, well, it's not as bad as we thought. Not sales. The sales were showing that it was horrific. The last quarter they lost $400 million. They were down 30% last quarter. But the survey, people were answering the phone and saying, yeah, I buy Bud Light. But actions are louder than words, and we should all know that. So just because you answer a survey a certain way doesn't mean you will actually go to the store and buy it. So them pushing this is just false advertising to the market, to consumers, to shareholders, and it's an egregious action. Bud Light, which lost its top spot to Modelo after the controversy, is now 26.9% in dollars and 30.3% in volume, he says, citing a study by Bump Willing Consulting. So it's permanent. Too bad, so sad. You did it to yourself. So I just hope other companies can look at this and learn from it. And another bad sign for Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch is that Bill Gates, through his foundation, Bill Gates just spent $100 million on Anheuser-Busch shares. And people are saying, oh, well, this is a good thing. This is going to show people that the company is on the comeback and more people are going to jump in. But I don't think so, because when you look at the core consumer base, They don't trust Bill Gates. People don't like Bill Gates, especially at this whole COVID-19 vaccine crap that he pulled. People don't like this man. So you're going to have this man attached to your company. His demonic looking face attached to your brand is going to drive even more people away. And the question is, why the hell is he doing this? Some people are saying, well, he's trying to buy the dip because the stock dropped down so low. So he's saying, well, maybe in 5 years, the stock is going to be way up there. So I'm going to put money in now and I'm going to double, triple my money. Possibly. Another possibility is that this man is a woke freak and he's willing to spend big money, 9 figures, to fight back against opposition. So he's seeing that this company is cratering, that Bud Light is in free fall. He's seeing that a lot of people, mainly on the right and a lot of people in the center, are against everything that Bud Light is doing with this whole LGBT, LMNOP thing. So he's trying to go against them. He's saying, okay, you guys want to crater the sales and make the stock go in free fall? How about this? How about I drop 9 figures on it? And that's going to make other people push the stock back, so all your efforts will be in vain. So is he that much of a lunatic that he would sink $100 million into a brand to save it after it deleted itself by trashing its core consumers? Maybe. But this isn't the first time Bill Gates has jumped into other endeavors outside of his area of expertise, which is computers, technology, stuff like that. He invested in Heineken, for example. He invested in other companies that lost money. Maybe he's just a bad investor. Maybe he's just a risk taker. Maybe he's a gambler now. Who knows what's going on in this man's head? But having him attached to the brand is a bad thing. Okay, so Netflix is doing well. They recently released a live-action remake of the popular anime series One Piece, and it's doing extremely well. It quickly jumped up to #1. It actually broke a significant record. It became #1 in 84 countries, and the highest 2 before that were Wednesday and Stranger Things. They both managed to tie at 83 countries, being #1 in 83 countries. So this show quickly gained worldwide notoriety, and the craziest part about this whole thing is that the executives over there at Disney, Bob Iger and all them, they gotta be punching air right now. These guys have been trying live action remakes of popular cartoons for years, but they keep failing at it. We got another one coming up, Snow White. We seen what's going on. They had to delay it because the actress, the lead actress in the movie, is trashing the animated movie Snow White. She's talking all types of crap. Let's take a look at what she's been saying.
Cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years when I was doing this. For 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago. It's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant to where we are today.
So this is just one example of Disney not knowing how to do it, not knowing what they're doing. They're taking these movies, these beloved characters, and they're changing it from the source material to the point where these characters are not even the same character anymore. They're just a character in name. And Disney has to do this because they're trying to sell tickets. So this Snow White movie that's coming out, it's not even Snow White. It's a different movie with the name Snow White, basically to deceive consumers into believing that they're going to get their beloved character. But they're going to use their beloved character as a vehicle to push woke ideology. And Netflix has had some problems with this too. So Netflix hasn't been perfect at all. The most notable one is the show Witcher, where they ran off Henry Cavill. He was willing to stay there forever because he loved the book series, he loved the games, but these woke freaks who Netflix let write this stuff said that they didn't even like the source material and that they believed that they could do better. So they started changing things, throwing all types of wokeness, feminism, and all that crap into the show to the point where Cavill left and now the show's about to get canceled. But One Piece is an example of Netflix getting it perfectly right. And the main reason why they got it right is because the creator himself of One Piece was there. He said he was on them like a dog. He watched every single detail to make sure that they stayed faithful to his source material. Not that it was a one-by-one play of the manga, the anime. It wasn't word for word, but it kept the spirit. It didn't change the characters at all. The storyline was, for the most part, intact, and it became a show that was consumable to a broad audience, and it also satisfied his long-term fans. That's the formula right there. Look what Mario did. Same thing. They kept true to the source material, and they broadened it to where you were able to reach a wider audience. Would Netflix learn from this? Is Disney going to learn from this? Because Disney has been absolutely trash. These 8 episodes of One Piece have been better than the last half of the MCU. And if they continue with this, because now this one has been so successful, they're in talks of having other animes like Yu Yu Hakusho and some others. They want to bring these animes into live action. Now, if they can do this successfully, it's going to make Disney look horrific because manga has better stories than comic books, than American comic books, than Marvel and DC. So if you can do the same thing with live action, if you can translate this over well into TV shows and movies, it's going to crush the MCU. Absolutely crush it. But I will say this show currently is a one-off because we've seen this before. We've seen that Dragon Ball Z movie. We've seen Death Note, Cowboy Bebop. These are all extremely loved anime series, manga series. And Hollywood has taken these series and turned them into absolute trash. That Dragon Ball Z movie is an abomination. Like, no one should be even allowed to speak of it again after this. So I'm not saying that live action anime is just about to take the world by storm because we don't know. It's a one-off. But I would love for it to happen. It will be a great thing. Hopefully Netflix and Disney and these other people can learn. You need to stick true to the source material. Thank you for joining the Vice Signal podcast today. We covered a wide range of topics: global affairs, entertainment, what's going on with Bud Light. If you like today's episode, subscribe to the channel for more. Ring the bell for notifications. Share the video. Thanks for watching.